What is up, YouTube? My name is Eric, and if you're new to my channel, feel free to click the like and subscribe button. It's right down there. This is actually not a normal video. This is actually a podcast that I wanted to share here on YouTube with Emily, who is a survivor of spousal abuse, both mentally, physically, and sexually. And she shares her experiences, and it's extremely strong. She's somebody that I know firsthand and is actually a good friend of mine. My channel is all about mental health, mental illness, suicide awareness, sobriety, making sure that nobody goes through life alone. And I'm really excited to get the chance to share this with you. This is part 2 of a 3-part series that I'm doing with her. It's also on Spotify, SoundCloud, along with Anchor. Click that like and subscribe button. Love to have you along for the journey. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to our weekly podcast with Driven Industries. My name is Eric, and I have started Driven Industries, and it was based around people helping people. I'm diagnosed with ADHD, PTSD, depression, anxiety. I lost a wife and a father to suicide, and I'm also a recovering addict, and it was my passion that nobody goes through life alone. So we had started doing podcast again and sharing with Emily. Emily is a member of our mental health community on Discord. She has went through a ton. She has been through an abusive situation with her husband, who is now going to end up being her ex-husband. And she wanted to share her story. It's a great showing of strength of what she's been through. And I know that there's others out there that can relate, especially when it comes to being abused by your husband, whether it's being beat, whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's mental abuse, and some of the relationships we get into of how it can impact and change our lives. She goes very big into detail on this, and I'm more than proud of her. I'm very impressed that she was willing to share this story. So I'm really excited to share the second part. The first part was really kind of the build up to what happened. This second part here is exactly what happened and the events that happened, and some of her advice to what even happens when you are raped by a spouse, because that is something that is actually able to happen. A lot of times people think, well, because you're married, sexual abuse cannot happen. That is incorrect. If you have been abused at all, there is a website out there called RAIN, RAINN.org, RAIN, RAINN.org. That is a resource out there actually to help you. So if you have been through any kind of sexual abuse, make sure you check them out, get involved with those resources, because you don't have to go through this alone. It is a we thing, it is an us thing, it's a together thing. So look forward to sharing this with you, and you know what, Emily, thanks so much for doing this. Appreciate you coming back and sharing your second part of this, Emily, and everything that you've been through. And I know you're still going through a lot.
Yes.
Yes. So the first part of it, we talked about and shared about about the abuse leading up to kind of the events that really ended up happening. And again, even I don't think people realized on the last podcast that I had to kind of stop and redo it with you, because I didn't realize even when I had met you and knew you what exactly was going on. I mean, I thought there was more mental abuse. I didn't realize there was physical abuse involved. And that was a shocker for me.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really super upfront about it at first, so.
Well, I don't think anybody is, and that's why I think it's so strong that you're willing to share this, because I don't think anybody is like big on sharing that, hey, this is what's going on with me right now, that, you know, you just kind of pretend everything's okay, and that it is all your fault, and you get it in your head that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone ever wants to admit that they've gone through it. I mean, it's embarrassing. I mean, people look at you differently. You don't get treated the same, so.
No, I get it. So we had started talking, and it came down to, really, this all came to a head on one day, am I right?
Yeah.
So can you walk us through what happened that day? I know that you were in our mental health Discord at that time. I actually wasn't on at that time. The admin had to kind of fill me in on what was going on. So what ended up happening? What was the events that happened that day to this whole breaking point?
So I had been talking with a couple of the admins about trying to figure out a way to get out of the situation a couple days prior to, and that day was just sort of like the day that I decided to go. We had been out with the kids all day, and it just was a stressful day. Came home, wasn't getting any better, like yelling and he had gotten physical with me once already that day, so he had left the house and went, I'm assuming, to the bar or somewhere to drink. Came home drunk and wouldn't let me leave. I was trying to get the keys from him, and
Now, when he was gone, did you like pack up stuff, or what was your plan to get out of there? So you had been talking with a couple of the admin, and I know they don't mind us sharing their names. I know you've been talking to Laura and even Jen, and so you said that you kind of made the decision to leave. Like what was your plan to do?
honestly, I didn't really have one. I just knew that I needed to go, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. At least you knew you needed to get out of there and you had to get out of the environment.
Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure where it was going to go. At that point, I was just more worried about getting out of the situation, and then I was going to figure it out.
Okay. So he comes back home from the bar drunk. You still haven't left yet.
Right, the kids were there. So they were, I was supposed to go and drop them off to their mom for the night. So they were sleeping when he got home, and I sitting on the couch and doing something, and I told him that I was going to get ready to go, and he was like, no, you're not going, they're not going, like, I'll take them later, like, you're staying here. Got in my face, and I'm like, no, I need to go, I also have some running around to do, just trying to come up with an excuse to have him let me go.
Okay.
He got my phone, and at this point I was still talking with Laura.
How did he get your phone from you? Did he take it out of your hands or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he had gone through and read my messages.
Text messages or what? Oh, okay, so you had the Discord open, so he just got into the Discord then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he had read that and lost it, got really angry, and decided to take it out on me.
Okay. And we don't have to go into. I mean, I wanted you to be as comfortable as possible doing, sharing about this, so you don't have to go into any kind of details or anything that you don't feel comfortable doing. He ended up taking it out on you. Were you able? How did you get the car keys, and how did you get out of the situation?
So he beat me, and then told me, at that point I wasn't fighting. It wasn't going to help anything. So he had told me that he was going to do what he wanted to do, and then I could leave, type of thing, like have the keys and take the kids and go.
Okay.
So.
And so that ends up, I'm assuming, happening, and he ends up finally giving you the keys?
Yeah, and then I left, took them to their mom's house, and I didn't go back.
Okay, I mean, at that point, were you in any pain from what ended up happening?
Yes, a lot of pain.
Okay, where was the pain at? Just all over your body, or was it areas that he had to hit you in?
I mean, it was mental, physical, like all of it at that point.
It was all the above. It was just a fucking beating.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you got out of the situation at least. You got with the kids. You took them to their mom's house then?
Yeah.
Okay, and then what ended up happening? I mean, I know the story beforehand that you never ended up really going back home after that.
No.
No, okay, so what did you end up doing?
I sat in my car for like 3 hours trying to figure it out. Had a breakdown after I dropped the kids off. And then I ended up going to a hotel for a couple days to try and figure it out.
Okay, and I mean, were you talking to anybody during this time? I mean, did you have any support around you? Did you have any family support? I mean, what was going on? I mean, you had a breakdown in the car. Were you going through it all by yourself, or what were you doing?
No, thankfully, majority of my support was like from the Discord and from the staff and everything. in the Discord.
The reason I ask that is because I'm a firm believer, and usually you can get more support and help from strangers than you can sometimes family members and friends. I mean, was that the case for you?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you're getting help and support from the staff. So keep going. I'm really curious because I wasn't even really there when all this was happening.
Right. I mean, obviously their main goal was to get me safe. So once I was in the hotel room and stuff, they were able to help me calm down and not really process, but like realize, I guess, what had happened. Because at that point, I was more in like survival mode. I wasn't in like needing to take care of myself.
Right. So they kind of gave you the reminders that you needed to take care of yourself and that you were the most important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I really needed, because I mean, that's not what you think of at all.
What do you think of then?
I mean, you're scared, you are worried they're going to find you, like he was going to find me, that, you know, I'm not going to be able to get out, like this is just temporary, like stuff like that, you know?
So you ended up getting into a hotel. I mean, how's your body doing? How are you doing once you get into this hotel?
I laid in bed for like 2 days. I did not move. I did not go to work. I did not do anything. I didn't leave the hotel room. I could not.
Okay. Were you eating at this time at least and taking
No.
care of yourself? No. Okay.
No.
So did you end up reaching while you're in the hotel room out to any other resources besides the Discord or anything out there?
I used Rain as a support.
How was that? Well, explain to me. So RAIN is a website, a nonprofit organization for sexual abuse survivors.
Mhm.
So what did they end up doing with you and helping you?
I was able to talk to, um, like one of they have like, I don't know, like almost like grief counselor, um, and then like their support person to help me walk through the steps of what like I should do, which at this point had been a couple days. I didn't call until like day 2
Do you
or 3.
do you wish you would have called them sooner or no?
Yes.
Okay.
I was definitely not aware of any of like what I could do, or any of the process that goes behind it.
Right. Okay. So you're talking to their grief counselors and stuff. So what you're I know that you're probably already in pain and everything and stuff still.
Mm-hmm.
So what ends up happening still?
Well, they get me more localized resources in my area, and then give me names of like therapists and stuff that I can go and talk to in my area. So that was helpful. And then they suggested at that point going and getting checked out, like how in the hospital, which I didn't end up doing until I went back to work, which I regret now. But
Okay, so you're in the hotel room. You're trying to take care of yourself. You've called out of work a couple days. So what was really when was really when you exited? I should say at least even out of the hotel room after all this. I mean, I'm assuming that your soon to be ex husband was trying to blow you up, get a hold of you. Was that happening during this time?
yes,
Okay, so he's trying to get a hold of you. You finally then, what was it? You just woke up one morning and said, "Crap, I have to go to work."
pretty much.
Okay, so you end up going to work. Did you see any of the grief counselors or any of the resources that Rain gave you, or did you just primarily talk to them?
I did. I still see the therapist that they recommended. But I didn't before I went to work. No.
Okay, so So you get yourself together. How many days after all this happened did you go to work?
4, 5 days, I think.
Okay. Now, hindsight's 2020. Do you wish you would have went to the hospital right after this happened?
Yes.
Okay. And I know we'll get into this because I know what it all ended up happening. So you go into work after all of this happens. I'm assuming the people at work, I'm assuming you didn't tell the people at work or your boss or anybody what happened.
No.
You just probably called in sick. So you go into work like it's a normal work night for you. What ends up happening?
Well, I get halfway through my night, and I start um, not feeling good. Like I don't know, just like my vitals are bad, and I just feel really lightheaded. So, um, once again, I was talking with a couple members in the Discord and talking with Laura, um, and they had convinced me to tell um, one of my coworkers how I was feeling, and then they checked me out and made me go down to ER.
So your coworkers, is it okay if I share what you do?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so you're an RN, you're a nurse. So
Yes.
and I get it because my dad was a doctor. I understand how none of it can happen to you because you're a nurse
Right.
mentality. So another nurse checks you out and says you need to go to ER then.
Yep.
So you go to the emergency room. What ends up happening in the emergency room?
Well, I get down there and they immediately take me back into one of the rooms. At this point, I am super tired and super, like my blood pressure is super low, and they cannot figure it out.
Okay.
So, um, get testing done, and they immediately admit me.
Okay, so you're immediately admitted.
Yes, straight to the actual ICU.
So you didn't even go. You skipped the line pretty much and went straight to ICU. Then I mean, are they telling you what's happening and why they're putting you in ICU?
I didn't know 100% what was going on. I mean, I wasn't super 100% with it at that point. I was just so tired and out of it. But I knew they had mentioned something about bleeding at that point.
Now, did you tell them at this point at all what you had been through or no?
I had not. So
Okay.
they were asking from the bruises and the marks and what damage like I had done.
Okay.
I mean, it's a lot has gone on since then. I'm pretty sure Laura might have been the one who actually told them for me because I couldn't.
Okay. So it was nice to have some help along the way.
Yeah.
All right. So they get you into ER. I mean, what ends up happening now that you're in an intensive care unit?
I went to surgery.
You went to surgery. What was the surgery for?
I had internal bleeding.
Where was your internal bleeding at?
My stomach.
Now, was the internal bleeding from being hit in the stomach or?
Yes.
Okay, so you were hit in the stomach enough that it gave you the internal bleeding, and so you went through surgery. I'm assuming you woke up from surgery going, "What the hell just happened?"
Yeah.
Okay, did they kind of fill you in on what happened and what's going on?
They did. And at that point, they had pretty much figured it out.
Okay. Now, through what you had been through, did they ask you at any point to do a kit up to this point, or no?
They unfortunately they did what they could, but it was too late. Like waited too long.
Do you wish you would have went in and got one taken as soon as this happened and got to the ER?
Yes.
Okay. Why is that? Why do you because hindsight's always 2020, and maybe this will help somebody out there. I mean, why do you wish that you would have went right to the ER and got a kit?
Because it would have made the court process a lot easier.
Okay. And I'm sure that nobody even really explained to you why it's important to get one of those. Am I right?
No, it wasn't until afterwards when it was too late that it was explained to me.
Right. And even if you do get a rape kit done, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to press charges, does it?
No, and I was not aware of that.
Okay, so you kind of assumed if I got a rape kit done, it's instantly pressing charges because I know that the mentality that you're probably going through still wasn't anger or anything at him,
No.
and trying to probably even protect him and protect the kids and protect everything, and everything was okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely like, it's my fault, like, I did something wrong. Like, I'm gonna be the one to get in trouble type of thing.
Okay.
It wasn't.
Well, you did eventually realize that you really don't get in trouble, do you?
Right, yeah.
Okay. So you are in ICU now after surgery. What ends up happening now?
Well, I ended up getting a bunch of blood transfusions.
How much blood
There
did you
was a,
lose?
they gave me 6 or 7 units of blood to replace what I had lost.
Wow. And let me ask you this, because a lot of people don't get internal bleeding. Where did the blood go?
It didn't come, it was in my stomach.
So it just kind of piled up in your stomach. Did they have to pump it out?
They took it out during surgery. I don't know what they did to take it out.
Okay. Because I don't think a lot of people get it because you hear of internal bleeding and it's like, okay, you're bleeding internally, but where does it go? All right, so they took out the excess blood in surgery, or actually your blood essentially in surgery. Now you're recovering. What was all going on then?
I had finally gotten moved out of the ICU onto a regular floor, and I was not allowed to get out of bed. I was probably in bed for a good 3 or 4 days.
Okay, so there's a lot of recovery that went along with this now.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the hospital for a week and a half.
So would it have been this bad if you would have went into the emergency room right away?
No, probably not.
Okay.
They would have caught it.
Right. Okay. So now you're bed rest and you're in there for a week and a half. So what ends up happening now? I mean, go into contact from your soon to be ex to the events that keep going on because it's not kind of one and done.
No. I got discharged finally, and was off work. I ended up staying with a friend for a couple days, actually for a week or so, trying to figure out where I was going to go.
So you'd already made the decision then that you're never going back. You're over this.
Correct.
You want to move on with your life. You want to get better. You're staying with your friend. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there was question about should I go back? What would happen? And I just knew, even though I was questioning it, that I couldn't, especially after everything that just happened.
Exactly. Okay. So then what ends up happening? You're living with your friend, trying to get your life together.
I go back to work on restrictions, which I should have not. I mean, looking at it now, I should not have gone back as soon as I did.
Was it your choice to go back or work's choice?
Mine.
Okay.
And I, at that point, was not following restrictions. I did not care what happened to me. Was just not taking care of myself and ended up putting myself back in the hospital.
How did you put yourself back in the hospital?
I was not following weight restrictions and ended up popping a couple of my stitches.
Okay, so now you're back in the hospital. Did they put you back into surgery?
Yeah, I had to go in and get the stitches put back together.
Okay, so how long was the recovery the second time through?
It was not that bad.
Okay.
I was I was in the hospital maybe a day or two and got sent home. And then had a meeting at work, and they pretty much said, if you're not going to follow these, then you're not coming back until you're fully cleared. Pretty much told me it's either I listen or I'm not working. So.
Right. So you had to listen then.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's good.
They did.
So now you've listened. Did you end up getting a place on your own?
Yeah, I do. Yep, I have my apartment.
Awesome. And I mean, during the time in the hospital, I mean, was your ex trying to get into the hospital, or did he try to contact you through phone? Um,
He um, did not try and come up to the hospital, but he didn't know I was there.
okay.
But he was blowing my phone up. Yes.
Okay. What? I mean, did you talk to him at all during this time, or did you completely ignore him?
I did not talk to him um, directly.
Okay.
People that had messaged me about him or him, I was pretty much just like, leave me alone. Like, I want nothing to do with that situation. Um, and then I just realized that it was something where I'm just going to have to start blocking people and just not responding.
Okay. And trying to get on with your life. So then you had gotten your own place, gotten out of the hospital, and I mean, how's the recovery side of it? Because the third part I really want to go into is then really essentially even what happened after the fact. Because I know that it's not over yet
No.
for you, but on the health side, how was it the rest of the way health side for you? Because that's something that a lot of people don't realize. Yeah, there's a psychological brain fuck that goes on, but there's the health side. So have you since that second surgery been completely healthy, good to go, everything?
No.
No. So what else ended up happening?
I ended up getting an infection. Um, I had pneumonia
Okay.
from like the surgery and stuff, and then was treated with antibiotics, and it didn't go away fully, and so I ended up admitted again
Okay.
to the hospital for antibiotic treatment, and I ended up having an allergic reaction to one of the antibiotics while I was there. Um, and that was recent. That was like maybe 3 weeks ago.
Right. So as of this point, from all the assault, are all those is all that healing, or is there more that you still have to do to for it?
I get testing done. Um, been going through testing and stuff to see if the damage did anything to. Um, their concern now is more like infertility, like with the damage that was done.
Okay.
So we're doing that, but other than that, everything is okay. I still have to go in and get checkups, like on the surgery, and just like make sure that I'm healing appropriately.
That makes sense. Let me. This might sound a little odd. So, at this point, you had been away from your husband for how long?
It'll be 2.5, 3 months, maybe.
How has it been not having to endure the violence for, say, just even 2 months?
At first I mean, and this probably sounds crazy to anybody
No.
who hasn't been through it. Weird. Like, I mean, it was almost like, not that I missed the, like, violence part of it, but, like how he was afterwards.
Oh, you mean how you'd be kind afterwards and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay. No, and that makes total sense, and that's why I wanted to ask. Because a lot of times, I mean, usually when that happens, the person does apologize and try and make it all right, which is complete utter crap, to
Right.
keep the person, there. And so I know that there's a psychological side of it that, when this all stops, yeah, the beatings and stuff stops, but there's also that psychological side that, you had been with this person for a long time, and now you are alone. I know that there has to be a positive side that you're not getting hit anymore, but then there's also the side of loneliness. I mean, what have you done to help with the loneliness or feeling that you're alone?
I have recently been just hanging out with friends and
Wait, you've been hanging out with what?
friends.
You mean you have friends again? Like your friends? Your
Yeah.
own?
Yeah. I didn't have them before.
Oh my god, how is it?
Great.
Great. No, I get it totally, and that's awesome though. Um, because you have rebuilt your life, and I'm proud of you for how far you've come. I mean, from just happening to reach out because you saw some TikTok video, to some random stranger out there, that all this has happened, and you're even a huge part of our community that we have of support. And I find it just very inspiring of what you've been through and how much of a fighter you are.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm gonna cut this part of it, off for us so that we can save then the third part, because I know a lot more continues to go on. Just at this point where you were at once you got out of the hospital, living with your friend, finding your own apartment. At any of that point, did you file for divorce yet?
I did.
You did. Okay. So you've now filed for divorce. You're starting to live on your own. And that's really where I kind of want to end it at, because then it gets really screwed up. And I want to share about how our justice system is in the next one, and what it's kind of like to be with an abuser, because a lot of times I think people don't realize or are prepared that it doesn't just stop right away.
No.
Exactly. So I appreciate you doing this with us, Emily. I really appreciate you being so open about it, because I know that there are so many people out there that are struggling and that are going through so much shit that they feel alone. And I know that the power of just sharing your story and what it can do.
Yeah, hopefully this helps somebody.
And that's what it's all about. And the more that we help somebody, the more that helps us. The one thing I wanted to even ask, just the last thing that before we go. So you ended up during this time meeting with a psychiatrist, am I right?
Yes.
Was it a psychiatrist or a psychologist, or did you meet with both?
I met with both.
Okay. Now, you for a while did not want to really talk about these events.
Right.
And what did they, and I was very impressed by how quickly they sped up the process. What did they actually force you to do?
They actually forced me to talk about it.
Why did they force you to talk about the events?
They told me that the only way to get control and gain control of the situation and how I'm feeling is to talk about it.
Did that help you when you started to talk about it?
Tremendously.
Pretty damn amazing how that works, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, hey, I appreciate this, and I can't wait to share the third part of this.
Me neither.
Emily, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And it comes down to, in the description area, I do have a link to RAINN, which is RAINN.org, which is designed around support for anybody who's been sexually abused in any kind of nature. It's a great resource out there. It's a free resource out there. I also do have some affiliate links down there for tools and stuff that I use in my everyday life that helps me get through everyday life. So feel free to check those out, along with all the links to all of our different social media. It really comes down to people helping people. I'm looking forward to starting this nonprofit, because it's going to end up filling that gap of going to a doctor, to calling a crisis line, of just being able to have support when we need support the most. So definitely comment below, hit that like and subscribe button. Love to have you along for the journey. If you need some tools and resources, check out my other videos, check the description box. We got this together.